कुमार स्वामी नायक गोंगो लुगु लटोका रेडियो फीजी 2 में पुराना गाना लगे हमें बहुत अच्छा लगे।
रेडियो फीजी 2 देश की धड़कन।
Good evening, Fiji. In this bulletin, talks underway to safely reopen ports of entry. Blue Lane initiative generates huge interest. And alarming child abuse figures revealed.
From the studios of FBC Suba, Jackie Spade.
The United Nations and the Asian Development Bank are leading discussions on strategies to assist Fiji's economy bounce back from the implications of COVID-19. These include plans to safely reopen ports of entry to attract tourists and increase international trade with stringent protocols and procedures. UN Resident Coordinator Sanaka Samarasina says the UN ADB, among other international agencies, are willing to render technical and to a certain extent financial assistance to ensure these plans are executed effectively. Chasaina Nunga has more.
The UN says the basic idea is to improve COVID-19 response capacity and standard operating procedures amongst our frontline border officials.
All these countries, all of our countries have a minimum standard of safety. And at the end of the day, countries will agree to let people in if they feel that those who are coming, the source country, has also safety standards.
These also include the establishment of clear protocols targeting pre-border, at-border and post-border opening for both air and sea transport.
If you're an airline, you can't just abide by standards of one country because the flight is going to another country too. So you have to have an agreement between two countries to have protocols and standards in place that are acceptable to both countries.
Permanent Secretary for Immigration Yogesh Karan says strengthening relations with international agencies is critical in a bid to fighting back from the impact of COVID-19.
Of course, in terms of the knowledge and the literature around this COVID, UN comes in handy because it's very easy for us to make reference or seek advice from them globally. As you know, that they've done an impact study for Fiji, which we had a meeting a week before last.
The UN, ADB and other agencies will develop plans for the governments who will make final decision on reopening ports of entry. The strategies guarantee that partnered countries have the same COVID-19 containment capacity, encouraging economic activity and reducing the risk of the virus spreading. Shosayena Nunga, FBC News.
Fiji's Blue Lane initiative is already generating interest with a number of tourists keen to visit for a holiday. Economy Minister Ayasaid Kayum confirms a handful of yachts have already come into Fiji, with more expected over the next few weeks.
There are strict requirements which will ensure that Fiji is not exposed to COVID-19 when tourists sail in under the Blue Lane initiative.
There's various, security measures in the background in respect to the GPS tracking, etc. And people do have to do a COVID-19 test before they actually leave. And we've seen some very positive response.
Syed Kayum says authorities are being vigilant with all visitors. Time spent in sailing with no outside human contact is also factored into quarantine requirements.
The days of sailing can be also used as a quarantine period, as long as that after the point of departure nobody gets on or gets off.
Some tourists under the Blue Lane initiative have been seen around Nandi recently, a welcome sight after 4 months. The government is also looking ahead to the America's Cup, an international sailing tournament hosted in New Zealand early next year.
There's quite a few people who do want to come and park their yachts here. And of course they'll use Fijian services, buy our food, use services of our people, and they may even travel within Fiji itself.
26 yachts have already been given the green light to sail in. Edwin Nand, FBC News.
Lawyer and Sadelpa parliamentarian Niko Nawaikula has to date not commented on his charges. He appeared before the Independent Legal Services Commission for a charge of professional misconduct, the third charge against him in 7 years. Nawaikula, who is charged by the Legal Practitioners Unit, appeared before Commissioner Justice Daniel Gaunda. Pranita Prakash reports.
Despite numerous calls, attempts to get comments from Niko Nawaikula proved futile. It is alleged that Niko Nawaikula prepared a Matangali trust deed for the conduct of affairs of the Matangali and for the disbursement of trust monies received from the ILTB for the clan. The Matangali in question is Nambuke in Namosi and the trust deed is dated 6th May 2009. The deed prescribed certain administrative procedures to be followed and the roles of the trustees generally amongst other duties. It is alleged that Nawaikula did not obtain the necessary approval from the members of the clan or the Matangali in order to facilitate the formation of the deed. Thus, his omission, it is alleged, represents a substantial failure on his part to reach out or maintain a reasonable standard of competence and diligence in this matter. This is not the first time the MP is charged for professional misconduct. He faced similar charges in 2013 and 2015. The matter will be heard before the ILSC on the 4th of next month. Pranita Prakash, FBC News.
The alarming rate of child abuse cases reported in the first quarter of the year is a statistic that has shocked many, with more than half of the victims being females. According to the Child Welfare Act National Database, a total of 122 cases were reported in February, 97 cases in March, and 90 cases reported in April. Vinina Rakautonga has more.
The increase in the number of reported cases is sparking concern in the community level.
We are actually doing really, awareness at the grassroots level for communities to be in a position to recognize and be in a position to report as soon as they know or they come to know about these issues.
Save the Children Chief Executive Shariana Ali says they're working on educating the public on learning to speak out and reporting signs of such acts.
We are working with the Social Welfare Department and also, at the community level. We have now moved towards establishing reporting mechanisms.
The Social Welfare Department says they have been working with various stakeholders to try and address monstrous acts of abuse.
And one of the things that one of the issues that have frequently been reported to us is child abuse. And you notice that abuse is a reported case. The perpetrators are most often from within the family.
Of the reported child cases from February to April this year, child neglect cases stand at 95, physical abuse stand at 75, and sexual abuse cases stand at 37. Majority of the child victims were 16 to 17 years of age. Vinina Rakautonga, FBC News.
The Fiji Ships and Heavy Industries has faced significant losses as borders continue to remain closed. Fiji Ports Corporation Limited Chief Executive Vajira Piasena says, unlike cargo vessels where crews remain on board, regional ships which come for repairs need all crew to disembark. This does not work well with Fiji's border restrictions, hence the fall in business for the company. Sainiani Boiler reports.
The closure of the borders has a massive impact on the Fiji Ships and Heavy Industries.
Cargo vessels, the trading can go on, the crew can remain on board. The problem with the Fiji ships is that it's a repair yard and repair facility. So when the vessels are slipped, then it's obviously the crew has to disembark because there are no washroom facilities, cooking facilities.
Health Minister Dr. Ifiremi Wangainambete says COVID-19 restriction protocols are all in place in every port of entry for the safety of Fijians from the disease.
If there's any instance where someone needs to come ashore, they have to serve 14 days quarantine plus test as the procedure we have in place.
The Fiji Ships and Heavy Industries Limited is only working on refitting local vessels and are diversifying in an effort to keep their workers. Sainia Nimboila, FBC News.
Up ahead, Minister challenges Housing Authority. And former resort workers invest in barbecue business.
Baik tu dia jadi biar tahu रेडियो फीजी बहुत रेडियो फीजी रोज सुनता हूँ.
रेडियो फीजी 2 देश की धड़कन.
More Fijians want to own flats in urban areas, which has increased the pressure on the Housing Authority to provide affordable homes. The authority has been only focused on subdividing land, but it has now been challenged to diversify its services to cater for the different growing needs. Pranita Prakash reports.
Housing Minister Premla Kumar strongly believes the authority needs to come up with solutions that fit the needs of the 21st century.
After the Langi housing, we realized that there is a lot of demand for flats in urban areas. People prefer to own a flat, and that shows that while the public, they have changed in terms of their needs and wants, but Housing Authority is still stuck in that era.
The authority has an upcoming project in Vaisari Lami, which is in line with the minister's recommendation.
As a new board, we are looking at for more innovative side of it, whether we'll be selling house plus land or land only. So there will be a mixed development, townhouse type and commercials, and also some civic areas or religious areas for the people to live in.
The Housing Minister highlighted sourcing funds for development is a challenge for the authority.
They have been relying on government guarantees. They've been relying on Reserve Bank subsidy and so forth. But they need to be more innovative, they need to be more creative, they need to be talking to private sector.
The Housing Authority is currently working on some projects around the country through which over 500 lots will be made available. Pranita Prakash, FBC News.
With many tourism workers still out of jobs following the devastating effects of COVID-19 on the industry, a few have decided to invest in alternative livelihoods. These workers are doing all they can to continue supporting their families, even if it means sacrificing a few hours at night. Felipe Naikaso has more.
For these former resort workers, being out here on the streets of Nandi selling food before curfew starts is enough to make ends meet.
Yeah, I decided to do this because of COVID-19. So I decided to start a small business so that I can earn some money and then I can feed my family and, keep on going, life to go, keep on moving in front.
While the journey hasn't been easy, they have learned to adapt to the situation.
We've thought of a way to get money coming into the family to help support the kids. I've got 4 kids and my husband to support.
The support also shown by their friends and families during these hard times have been the source of their strength.
Depends how busy it is. Sometimes I sell 6-7 barbecues, sometimes I sell 2, sometimes I don't sell any barbecues.
The first week it has been a bit hard. So as we went along, customers have been coming. Even though with this pandemic, we thought it would be a bit slack.
The two are still hopeful that the borders will reopen soon and they can return to doing what they loved the most, that is, serving the guests coming to our shores. Felipe Naikaso, FBC News.
Around 60,000 families residing in traditional villages, farming communities and informal settlements will receive wood-burning efficient cook stoves. This is provided under the Improved Cook Stove program in Fiji at no cost to them. Minister for Economy Ayasai Kayum handed over the cook stoves to 78 women in Kalokolevul village outside Lami town yesterday, marking the official launch of the program. Said Kayum says 20,000 rocket stoves have already been handed out.
This stove, of course, will improve your efficiency by 36%. And it'll help you, it'll help us as a country to be able to ensure that we deal with the climate change issues.
Turning overseas, Victorians are coming to grips with another 6 weeks in lockdown, with sweeping restrictions set to come into full force tomorrow night. Melbourne's already entered stage 4 alert level. Regional Victoria goes to stage 3 on Thursday, with hundreds of thousands put out of work. And Whitney joins us now with the latest in business.
Thanks, Jackie. In business tonight, Kai sales keep cassava women financially afloat. And in growing Fiji, Vavorata farmers become FNPF members. Stay with us.
pula natang go approach lang karse go erkraki do televe on barong na radio Fijuan nandomo ibiti.
Radio Fiji 1 nandomo ibiti.
A group of women in Kasavo village in Naitasiri are working hard to make ends meet as the sale of freshwater mussels have declined. The group consists of 40 women from the area, and selling kai is the only source of income for many, as some of their family members were laid off due to the pandemic. Kelly Vadala reports.
These women are working hard to keep financially afloat.
Sales are not the same right now because many of our customers are tourists who usually go past the village, and sometimes people who are going back to overseas stop to buy a hip or two to take with them, but we still receive some customers and manage to earn $10 to $20 a day.
Naomi Koroi says the money earned from the sale goes towards the education needs of their children and helps keep up with the expenses.
We dive for mussels on our own. We go as a group sometimes. Many of us are mothers and we would like to do anything to keep our children at school.
Makereta Ratovata started her business last year and recently ventured into farming to earn extra income.
Along with selling kai, I also sell root crops such as cassava and dalo. The pandemic created a realization that we all can survive by doing something.
Around 40 women sell freshwater mussels at this cassava point from Monday to Saturday. Most of their family members have been laid off or working reduced hours and rate, so this is actually just a little contribution to the table. Kelly Vadala, FBC News.
HSBC warned its bad debt charges could be more than previously estimated. The bank's profit have more than halved in the first half of 2020. We now join Sinifa from HFC Bank with the latest in the stock market.
Australia's retailers are facing a consumption drought as the country's second biggest state locks down to fight the coronavirus. Data showed sales volumes suffered their biggest plunge in 2 decades. Their retail sales, adjusted for inflation, slipped 3.4% in the June quarter, suggesting consumer spending to be a drag on GDP growth. Also, separate data showed their trade surplus swelled to Australian $8.2 billion in June, taking the total for the second quarter to a whopping Australian $23.4 billion. Meanwhile, the US dollar held steady against its counterparts as traders awaited progress in negotiations for additional economic stimulus. Also, a better-than-expected expansion in the Institute for Supply Management's U.S. Manufacturing Index proved positive for the dollar, but it came with a warning as output remains far below pre-virus levels, and the employment index was below forecast at contractionary 44.3. That's all for now from HFC Bank, Vinaka.
Looking at today's local exchange rates as set this morning, the Fijian Sangamoli was on a high. Our currency rose against the Chinese yuan, the Aussie dollar, the New Zealand dollar, PNG kina, and also was up against the euro and the Japanese yen. We also lost ground against the US dollar. Looking at commodities, crude oil prices continues its mixed bag, rising today to $40.73 per barrel. Gold continued to climb and was at $1,775 per ounce, and silver went down by about 5 cents to end at $24.33 an ounce. The Agricultural Ministry successfully launched the Volunteer Fiji National Provident Fund membership with the Vaivarata Farmers Group yesterday. This initiative is the first of its kind aimed at ensuring farmers have access to certain benefits and are looked after through their pension post 55 years of age. Koroi Tandulala reports.
More farmers from the rural and maritime areas will also be included in the voluntary FNPF membership program.
We're beginning with 12 farmers who will be flashing their membership card today. There's another close to 50 farmers will become members of the Fiji National Provident Fund from this area.
The Agriculture Ministry says through this initiative, they're leveling the playing field for rural farmers when compared to those in the urban areas.
When you become a member of the Provident Fund, you're qualifying as a member without it's compulsory. You qualify for education assistance. If you do medically get sick, if you have enough money in your eligibility, you can get medical treatment in major hospitals. or if you help quite a lot, it can be taken overseas.
I've been farming most of my life and I have been able to support my family and build a house. I welcome this initiative. The government is working to ensure that those in the informal sector are also included in the country's only social security institution, the Fiji National Provident Fund. Corey Tandulala, FBC News.
That's it from Business Tonight. We now join Jamie with the latest in sports.
Unako Whitney, and good evening in Sports Tonight. FRU announces new chairman. And mental fitness a focal point for Lautoka. This and more coming up.
My name is Neha and I'm from Karavi. And Mirchi FM, it's hot.
Mirchi FM, it's hot.
Former Flying Fijians assistant coach Conway Begg has been officially announced as the new Fiji Rugby Union chair. Begg was one of the Flying Fijians caretaker coaches in 2001 with Ipere Mitawake after the FRU sacked Greg Smith, a former Wallaby coach. Aquila Dama with a story.
Begg says strengthening the relationship with regional partners is something he wants to work on.
My first engagement is to continue where we left off. Obviously, there's from the outgoing chairman, again, like I said, the stewardship that has happened, and to take it to the level, to listen, to work closely with our partners in the region. We've got New Zealand Rugby and Australian Rugby who's been knocking at our doors, and obviously over the time we want to develop and foster a very good relationship that we can grow together.
Begg is the appointee by the Prime Minister to the FRU board, and he replaces Commander Francis Keane. His inclusion in the board will add momentum to further the development of the sport in Fiji, according to the FRU.
We know that he brings a breath of fresh air to rugby. We've hardly had a chairman who's a coach, coach at all levels and up to national level. He brings a lot of fresh air, a lot of experience, a lot of expertise in rugby because he played both in New Zealand and in UK.
Conway Begg won the Escort Shield for Lomaiviti 6 times in the Suva Club competition. Aquila Dama, FBC Sports.
The tables have turned for Nandronga Rugby with a number of players from the province now representing other provincial teams. One in particular is Vinaya Hambosi, who scored the winning try for Namosi against Nandronga to win them the Fairbrother Challenge title last weekend. Karlaini Tavi has more.
Hambosi in the corner, try for Vinaya Hambosi.
After making his debut in last week's match against their level, the 20-year-old has set his sights on greater things.
Plan to continue representing Namosi in the Skipper and Fairbrother Challenge, and this is a platform to boost my talent in rugby.
Seeing the support from his loved ones is always a morale booster for Hambosi.
I am overwhelmed with the support rendered by my families in Singapore and other parts of Fiji, friends and colleagues.
Standout talents like Hambosi making a name for themselves in the Skipper Cup competition, this will give boost to the Fiji Rugby Union's initiative in promoting local competitions.
It is something that we are working on at Fiji Rugby Union. We've, in the last 5 years, it's trying to strengthen our local competition, because this is where all the talented Fijian players will get seen, will get exposed in, and it is part of our pathway into the Flying Fijian.
Namosi will host Naitasiri in the Skipper Cup Fairbrother Challenge on Saturday at Thompson Park in Navua. Karlini Tavi, FBC Sports.
Mental preparation has been critical for the Lautoka football team from the resumption of the season and leading up to the Punjab's Battle of the Giants tournament. A number of Blues players have lost their jobs due to the pandemic, and the coaching staff are working hard to keep their players mentally fit and focused ahead of the BOG that kicks off on Friday at Lautoka's Churchill Park. Felipe Naikaso has more.
The sessions over the past few days at the Blues camp have been critical towards psyching up the players.
The players are mentally and psychologically they are affected. Some of them they're not working, they're looking after the parents, after the children. and football is the only breadwinner for them now. So I have to work on that line as well to psychologically and mentally boost their morale.
While the coaching staff is satisfied with the preparations so far, they plan to intensify the sessions over the next few days.
I have to adapt as well. A very important factor in this is adaptation, how I adapt to the young boys, how I adapt to the elder ones as well.
Former national football rep and Lautoka player Colinio Sivoki, who had his suspension lifted, was also seen training yesterday.
For the BOG, all the teams have been preparing very well, and I can promise that we can win the BOG. We're gonna give our best because this is our home ground. We don't want to lose in our home ground. We don't want to let our official and our fan down.
Lautoka will host Rewa at 6:30 p.m. on Friday in their opening match of the Punjas BOG tournament, and you can catch the radio commentary on Mirchi FM. Philip and Aikaso, FBC Sports.
Meanwhile, Nandi will play Navoa in the opening BOG match on Friday at 12 p.m. and you can catch the live commentary on Mirchi FM. At 2 p.m, Lambasa meets Suva, and this match will be aired live and exclusive on FBC TV. 4 Fijians were part of the FIFA Referees Instructors online course, which ended yesterday. The group is now expected to boost development of the sport and referees in the country, starting with the BOG this weekend. Aquila Dama has the story.
These former referees, who are now assessors and technical instructors, enjoyed the 3-day FIFA course.
This will surely have an impact on the football and the referees' growth in Fiji, as my referees will be more qualified, and surely they'll try to help me in assisting the referees in Fiji, as BOG is right in the corner.
Fiji FA is lucky to have 4 local assessors with the likes of Rakesh Varman, Finau Wuliwuli, Dinamani and Shalayan Kumar.
So these assessors are there to watch the match and then advise the referee on his shortcomings. And there's a lot of law changes now which will be implemented in this BOG. So, and this 5 sub rule and all that. So this is why these guys are going through a very thorough process.
Newly promoted FIFA instructor Varman says this cause is going to benefit even those at the grassroots level.
We are hoping that our referees will develop, and at the same time when referees develop in Fiji, you know, they will have, when they control game, they will, it will make an impact on the football development as a whole.
Over 40 assessors in the Oceania region were part of the course. Aquila Dama, FBC Sports.
Cricket Fiji will host its T20 competition soon. This follows the successful T10 Bula Bash, which was concluded over the weekend in Suva, with Police and Mode taking top honours. However, Cricket Fiji hopes to have another competition next month after seeing the interest in its T10 competition.
We'll try our best not to wait for the season to start in October. We've got Albert Park hopefully till the end of the year, so we'll give us a couple of weeks break. Once we get our paperwork and everything in order, then we're looking to start both the men's and the women's T20. Our problem right now is the facilities. We've got just 2 grounds here. We built cricket pitches in QVS and we've got 1 in Grammar. Unfortunately, with COVID, the schools are very reluctant to give us those grounds.
In today's Play of the Day, Western Force winger Byron Ralston's try has been voted as the best in round 5 of Super Rugby Australia. Ralston scored again in their 20-25 loss to the Rebels, but this time on the back of some fantastic team play from the Force. That's it from Sports Tonight.
Hi, Bula. I'm Selai from Nandi. I love Gold FM, only the classic hits.
Gold FM, only the classic hits.
Angie is here now with the latest from the weather world.
Hello there and welcome to the Weather World. Sunshine wasn't present in most parts of the country today. It only chose a few specific spots. Now let's see which parts of the nation sunshine was active in. The west had it in abundance, slowly phased out due to the strong grey clouds, but was back in action. Eastwards from Pekhabarasuva, there is bands of showers passing by, which is resulting in showers. The night will have more. And up north, overcast conditions. The seas could be a little rough, so look out for that. At sea, southeast winds 20 to 25 knots, rough seas. Turning to the tides, low tide at 1:20 a.m. with high tide at 7:29 a.m. Sunrise at 6:31. For tomorrow, the showers are mostly focusing on the northern division. So, if you're up there, expect few showers. As for the western and the central divisions, light showers may vary. Tomorrow's temps, Savu Savu will be the coolest at 28 degrees. And looking further on to Thursday, it's the return of the showers. That's all the weather news from my end. Have a great evening. It's back to Jackie.
Thanks so much for that, Angie. In Fijian Pulse tonight, we asked, do you think it will be the right move to reduce TLTB charges during these trying times?
The news is timely considering our current situation and the need for people to lease land for agricultural purposes.
Well, since it's COVID-19, so we're finding very hard to, I think it would be better to reduce the percentage of payment to the lease.
The government must be acknowledged for imposing those kind of initiatives that will assist many Fijians during these times of uncertainty.
I think it's good news, and I think it shows us that the Prime Minister is very considerate and very sensitive to the needs of the people in Fiji, particularly in this time, the difficult times that we are in.
Recapping the main stories for tonight, talks underway to safely reopen ports of entry. Blue Lane initiative generates huge interest and alarming child abuse figures revealed. Now for these stories and others, tune in daily to our sister radio station Gold FM. Our poll question we're asking, should public transport have separate lanes during peak hour traffic? Visit our FBC website to answer. And our shot of the day, the staff of Castaway eagerly waiting to welcome the first set of guests after almost 4 months of closure due to COVID-19. You can send us newsworthy pictures and videos to email fbcnews@fbc.com.fj, via Facebook page FBC News, our Twitter page at FBC_news. That's your news for tonight. Until tomorrow, from the team and I, stay safe, stay warm and dry. Bye for now.
Bula FM number 2 NSR. Bula FM number 2 NSR.